Hi, everybody. It's Danielle Dietrich here today to talk to you about your personal narrative and the top 5 mistakes that I'm currently seeing for folks working on their personal narratives. So, before we begin, if you're interested in this content and seeing more of it, please like and subscribe. So please like this video and subscribe. Leave a comment. That's great too. So I'm a lawyer working with DBEs, disadvantaged business enterprises, and ACDBEs, airport concession disadvantaged business enterprises. And I've done this for years, but it's gotten a little busier over the last month or so. I think it was today is the 3rd, so I think it was 1 month ago today that the US DOT issued the interim final rule requiring all DBEs and ACDBEs to be recertified. And as part of that process, every single disadvantaged owner, so it's every disadvantaged owner, not every company, so it's not one per company. If you have more than one disadvantaged owner, each disadvantaged owner needs to submit a personal narrative to serve as proof of their social and economic disadvantage. And if you've seen it in my other videos, or you know me, or you've been following me, you know I've been doing different things on these topics. I am working with clients on a flat fee basis to help them draft their personal narratives. That includes a questionnaire that I have developed, 75 questions, that will make you think about all of these things. Then I help draft it. And I also check over your personal net worth statement, which is also going to be required. And it is a newer form. Many of you out there are not familiar with this form. This went into effect of May of last year. But to get to the meat of the video here today, I'm going to talk about the top 5 things that I am seeing that folks are doing wrong with their personal narrative for these purposes. So these are in no particular order. They're just kind of how I thought of them. Number 1 mistake is, of course, not writing one at all. So I've heard from some folks, I don't know if I can really say that I am disadvantaged without these presumptions. That may be true, but you know what? I think if you think about it long enough, you probably come up with some examples. Since we don't yet know, no one has revealed any kind of rubric or scoring system, we do know that there needs to be one or more examples of disadvantage that has been systemic and has affected you. And there's a lot of things that you don't think about that potentially could come into play. And so since if you don't submit a personal narrative, you are definitely not going to get DBE certification. It may be worth your while to spend just a little bit of time trying to put one together or hiring someone to help you with that. So number 2, the second mistake that I'm seeing people make is only talking about their business or focusing almost solely on their business. So one thing to keep in mind that this is a personal narrative. It is about the person. It is not about the business. Now, I am including a lot of things in the personal narratives that I'm drafting about the issues that the businesses have faced because they are a small business, because of the credit of the owner or the inability to have capital, those sorts of things. So keeping in mind, if you are going to talk about your company, it needs to relate back to the owner. So if you were just talking about, oh, my company gets, screwed out of all this work because we are small. That's not going to suffice. This is not a small business program specifically. You do have to be a small business. However, it is a disadvantaged business enterprise. You're talking about being disadvantaged, and under the regulations, the individual needs to be disadvantaged. So keep that in mind. It's okay to talk about your business. It's important to talk about your business, but you need to talk about you, the disadvantaged owner. So number 3 is writing a personal narrative, but keeping it very vague, just conclusory statements, no details whatsoever. That is not going to suffice. I have had clients send me back my questionnaire, and on my questionnaire, again, it's extensive. It's about 75 questions, but in my instruction section, I do say we need the who, what, where, why, how, and when. Might have said when twice, about all of these events. The more detail, the better. If you do not have any level of detail, now everybody understands you can't specifically recall the name of the individual you had some sort of run-in with 30 years ago, but you might remember where you were, the context of the comments, and importantly, how it affected you. So those sorts of things are very important to keep in mind. If you just send in a vague statement, maybe like 2 or 3 paragraphs, without any kind of specifics, you are not going to get certified. That is really not a good idea. You might as well not even try. I know I say it's a mistake to not try, but you got to put forth the best case for you and your company. Number 4, and I've seen this a couple times, and I think it is something that, like talking about your business can be important, can provide some context, but it shouldn't be the focus. And that is talking about your parents, your grandparents, and situations that they faced, experiences that they faced. So what your grandparents experienced when they were 20 years old is really hard to connect to the disadvantage that you face in your lifetime when you weren't even alive there. So keeping in mind, again, this all comes back to you, the disadvantaged owner. And what is it about you and your life that has been disadvantaged? So when you write 3 pages about all of these trials and tribulations your parents had or your grandparents, and it doesn't relate back to you, you're not accomplishing anything. Now, particularly with parents, there are a lot of things that parents go through that affect you as a person, whether your parents had health challenges when you were young, whether they had monetary challenges, they were economically disadvantaged themselves, couldn't, working 3 jobs, they were never there, all those sorts of things, those can be mentioned and can come into play. But again, you need to relate them all back to you. And then finally, my 5th thing that I am seeing that I would say is a mistake, personal narratives, is focusing solely on race and sex. Under the interim final rule, this personal narrative, it's not supposed to focus on those things. And we've heard conflicting statements from various certifying agencies as to whether or not they would accept those things and count them. I don't think I've heard anybody say that they won't accept a personal narrative that mentions challenges on these bases. But to be safe, you cannot rely solely on these bases. You need to have other things. And that's where working with somebody like me can help you with how you are framing your personal narrative, what you are writing, digging into other experiences and other ways to state things that might be very beneficial to you. So I hope that was helpful. I know everybody is breathing at least a little bit of a sigh right now, catching their breath, because all of the deadlines were really removed by most of the UCPs, which is good and bad. Good because it takes a little bit of that pressure off, but bad in that the process is not necessarily moving forward in as expeditious of a manner as we would all like it to. So again, my name is Danielle Dietrich, and I am an attorney that is working with DBEs and ACDBEs on their personal narratives. My contact information is down below if you're interested in working with me. Please reach out. Otherwise, I hope you found this video helpful. And again, appreciate it greatly if you would both like and subscribe. Thank you so much.